Hi guys, my name is Michael Mordinson and I'm the manager of the Mordinson Marriage Agency in Kharkiv, Ukraine. Today is March 20, 2020 and I'm here with a wonderful guy. His name is Steven. Steven is a Mordinson client who first came here to Kharkiv to use our services in January this year. He met a wonderful lady and they recently applied for the K1 visa, and I want to congratulate you with this. And now Steven came back to Kharkiv to spend more time with his lady, and he kindly agreed to come here and talk about his experience. Steven, thank you so much for coming. What's your story? Tell us your story.
Well, I'm from America. I'm from USA. Back in my home state, I'm a game warden, which is a state law enforcement officer that protects the wildlife. I also have a computer business on the side, which I enjoy very much as a hobby. And most of my background is aviation. I'm a commercial pilot, seaplane pilot, flight instructor, and I just enjoy traveling. I enjoy international travel. That's what brought me here.
Steven, how did you come to this idea about looking for a woman outside of the United States? What brought you to this idea?
Well, after my divorce, I had went on some dating websites in America, and I lasted about 1 month. That was not for me. And I started looking internationally, Mexico, Colombia, and Ukraine. And I met a young lady on the internet in Ukraine. She introduced me to Viber and different social media. And I talked with her for over a year. And I got to learn a lot about the country, the culture, and the quality of ladies that are here. And that's what initially drew me to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Steven, how did you find Mordinson and why did you decide to use our services? I mean, there are hundreds of dating sites and agencies out there. Why did you decide to use our services?
Well, my journey was a couple years long. I started, this is a message to all international men that want to come to Ukraine who have never been here, is you have to be very careful. You're going to hear the word scamming. That may mean paying too much for a taxi, paying too much for a restaurant, or it may mean getting involved with a dating agency here that the women are not genuine, they're not interested in genuine relationships, so you have to be very careful. And I took that route. Education costs money, let me tell you that right now. And I started with the traditional letter writing, paper letter writing, which did not pan out. And I eventually did connect with an agency and came over here on my first trip. That did not work out either, so I was still looking. I learned about the Mordinson agency on Ukraine Fusion. Two friends of mine, Stryker and Luba, helped me. And I did a lot of due diligence. I was very cautious when I approached Mordinson. I researched everything I possibly could. And that's what initially brought me here.
Mm-hmm. Steven, what sold you on Mordinsons? It's a question that is very interesting for me, for you personally. I mean, considering the fact that you had a negative experience in Ukraine before you decided to use our services, and naturally you were rather skeptical at this point, and like anybody would. Why did you decide to use our services? What was there with our agencies that convinced you that you should go this route?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I almost gave up. It was very frustrating, it's very expensive, and very time-consuming, and it's emotionally time-consuming too when you get involved with a lady. Probably the very first thing was when I reached out to you, Michael. We had a very candid conversation, and you can attest the fact that I asked many questions.
It's true.
And a lot of the questions that I asked, you were shocked. You were like, does that really go on? And I also did my due diligence. I went on the internet and I looked as vigorously I could to find anything negative about Mordinson, and I could not. So based on your conversations and my own due diligence, I decided to come here and try.
I'm very happy you did. Mm-hmm. Steven, now you have quite an extensive experience here in Ukraine, and of course you are from United States. What are those differences between Ukrainian women and American women that come to your mind when you think about it, if there are any?
Oh, there is. There's cultural differences, and there was a learning curve for me as well too, because you have the language barrier, of course, and that can become a mix of ladies that do not speak any English at all, some that speak fluent English. So You have the cultural barrier and you also have the language barrier. So those are two things to work through. You have to be patient and you have to educate yourself. Let me back up just a little bit and say the big difference, another big difference is the letter writing with the Mordinson agency. The letter writing here is very valuable because what happens when you initially contact Mordinson and give your introductory letter, you put that out to various ladies that you would like to communicate with, and the ladies that want to communicate with you will let you know right away. The ladies that don't want to communicate with you will let you know right away. It's very valuable and it's very time-saving because you have people on both sides that are very serious about the relationship, the men and the women, they're serious. And that period of letter writing was very, very valuable to me because it allowed me to have a lot of conversation, ask a lot of questions with the ladies, and begin to form a preliminary relationship before I came here. So I asked a lot of the same questions to the same ladies and got different answers. They may have been at different points in their life, but it really helped. So when I actually came here, now, the unique thing about letter writing with Mordinson is you are going to see those ladies. Now, this is a fluid process. At any time these ladies are communicating with other men too, they could be removed from the website. However, once you engage in conversation and you come here, you will see those ladies. There's no bait and switch tactics, none of that stuff, which is valuable, so you can build on that beginning relationship. So when I came here and started to talk and meet with the ladies, it was valuable because we could just pick up and really start to form the relationship and find out if we had connections, which was valuable. Now, back to the Ukrainian ladies. The culture is different. The dating process is different. The Ukrainian ladies really value the relationship. They value the role that a man plays in that relationship. They don't try to compete with the man. They don't try to dominate the man. They want you to be a strong man, but they want to be the lady. So that's one thing that's very different about Ukrainian ladies, which attracted me.
Steven, I just wanted to make a little comment for all you guys who are watching this video about what Steven just said about letter writing before coming over. There is a great saying that I really like, personally like, you don't become a champ on the ring. You don't become a champion when you are fighting in the ring. You become champion in the gym when you are preparing to this fight. And you can use the same analogy here. You do create and build this foundation of your success by approaching this communication with the ladies with an open heart, and just like Steve did. It's not a formal thing for the ladies as well. You have to ask questions and learn about the ladies, and they're all human beings, so you can get to know them, and by doing so you are giving yourself such a great such a great advantage, because when you first come here, like Steven did in January, it didn't feel, when you met the ladies, it didn't feel like you just met a stranger, didn't it?
No, it didn't.
And it's amazing because basically you kind of start in a relationship even before you come here, and it's very valuable, especially because normally your time in Ukraine when you come to meet the ladies is limited. So you can start this process way before you come over.
It's crucial, and one of the things I will delineate, the various ladies that I was talking to, the one that I ultimately connected with, our letter writing got very long. We were writing 1- and 2-page letters every other day. And I mentioned that to the lady. I said, I noticed we're writing a lot, and she goes, I like that. So she was looking for the same communication I was, and it really distanced her from the other ladies. It really kind of set her apart that she was serious and I was serious, and we look forward for the letters. If I was busy 1 or 2 days, she would remind me, I'm waiting. So it was very, she showed interest. It was very interesting.
Steven, once again, what was your expectation before you came here for the first time in January to use our services? And how did it pan out, and how did it work out for you? Was it better, or was it the same, or was it worse? And how was it different from your previous experience in Ukraine?
Okay, so as I told you, folks, I've been to Ukraine. This is actually my 4th trip. I've been to Odessa, I've been on the Black Sea, I've been to Kobleva, Nikolaev, Kherson, Kiev, and now Kharkiv. So I had a point of reference to compare things to. Other agencies as well too with Michael. So Michael will admit that I was very cautious, very skeptical. When I came here with Michael, I was very guarded. But he put me at ease very quickly. one of the big major differences with Mordinson is the translator. Other agencies that I was with, there was a translator that was with me 24/7. I think that hinders the communication and the connection actually. The very first lady that I met with, Michael, had set up that this is when I first learned of his process. He said to me, Stephen, if you want me to translate, I will. But I recommend you try to communicate with the lady yourself. Now, as a side note, you better know how to use Google Translate. You better know how to type with Google Translate, Google Conversation, Google Camera. If you can master that with Russian and Ukrainian, you will be very calm and comfortable. And that's exactly what happened. As soon as Michael offered that to me on the first date, do you want me here? I said, no, actually I don't. And I dismissed Michael. And the first lady spoke limited English. The second lady spoke very good English. One of the ladies that I spoke with spoke no English. She spoke Russian, I spoke English. Using Google Translate with the conversation feature, we had a wonderful conversation for an hour and a half. We laughed. It was very pleasant for both of us. So that was very different. Michael is there as a translator if you need him. However, I recommend you don't use the translator because you can immediately begin to build that rapport with the lady, which I find very interesting. I want to learn Russian. I'm picking up Russian words, but I think it's part of the process and the bonding with your lady. If you can try to understand, you guys work for communication.
Absolutely.
And it's good. You build that bond for communication and rely on each other.
100%. This struggle, you grow through the struggle. And you develop through the struggle. So of course it's much easier, for example, if a lady speaks basic English, it's much easier, it may look like it's much easier to use the interpreter, and it makes it easier for you and it makes it easier for her. But if you look at it like in a long term, it's not doing anything good for you. You have to see if you can communicate, and it's also so fun. I mean, it's not like a business meeting where every word you have to understand immediately every second. It's fun, even when you don't understand some of the things. It can be fun.
They laugh quite a bit when I try to pronounce Russian words. But it's very good. It's one thing I learned too. I'll give this to the men out there is these ladies want you to correct them with English. When they speak English, they want to be corrected. I didn't like that. I do not feel right correcting a lady. They get angry. If they mispronounce it, they want you to go over it and they appreciate it. So that was a little bit unnerving for me. Once I learned that and help her in normal conversation, if she would mispronounce a word, I would correct her and she would thank me. So then it was pleasant for me. It wasn't as uncomfortable after that. So.
Yeah, I think you have to. It's a part of the learning process to tell the person when he's making a mistake in a kind way, of course. Stephen, now you just mentioned that you have been to quite a few cities in Ukraine. You've been to Nikolaev, you've been to Odessa, you've been to Kiev, now Kharkiv. So you have been around Ukraine. What is your impression of this country in general, and more particularly now we are in the midst of this terrible situation with the pandemic of the coronavirus, and you have friends in US. You are naturally, Stephen is in Kharkiv right now, but you have friends in US, and you know you have the internet, you can see, you have the TV, you know what's happening in America. How do you feel Ukrainians are reacting to the situation differently, or if they do? And how do you feel here?
I will say I'm a police officer back in the United States, and my first trip here, I actually felt safer here on the streets of Nikolaev and Kharkov. I felt safer here. I don't know why, for some reason. People are calmer here. It's a lot calmer. And I realize right now, speaking of the coronavirus, we are probably 1 to 2 weeks behind other parts of the world, so we're watching it unfold. I have constant contact with my American friends, and I'm posting a lot of things on my personal Facebook page for their education and for my education for them as well, but they seem to be panicking. It's very disheveled in the United States right now. I understand the impact if we look at Italy, what's going to happen with the coronavirus, but for now, even with the subways, the big things here in Kharkiv right now is the subway system is closed down. That's about 500,000 people that cannot get to work. That's going to be big for the economy. So I kind of watch the financial aspect in the economies. But right now, even though the businesses are closed and the restaurants are closed, Kharkiv is poised a little bit better than America. They have a lot of things here. They have a thing called Glovo that I can order with an app food from any restaurant and it will be delivered right to my apartment. They have an infrastructure that's ready for that. So when they transition to all businesses closed, people just picked up with takeout. So I don't see a big change right now. It seems very calm.
It's a very serious situation with the virus, and people here don't take it lightly. Lots of people, I would say majority of people stopped working. They have they moved to the remote work, or in the process of figuring out how they can do how they can work remotely. It's just that people, it's if you don't mind, I'll give you my personal opinion. Ukrainian people have this historical memory of many, if not terrible, but rather challenging things happening in their life. And we just spoke about it a couple of days ago. In my life, I'm not a very old person, but I remember several major structural changes in my country and also the world. I was there when the Soviet Union has collapsed, and guys, it was something. It was quite a spectacle to see the entire. Can you imagine a country that was composed of dozens of different republics, and so the economy was intertwined, and now it's just it's broken apart, and of course the economy just basically went down, and it was something. And then of course there are a few other things, and in the recent time also in Ukraine had some really major challenges. So maybe this is something that makes people here in Ukraine a little bit more calm about the situation.
I think so. We talked about that. I asked him. I'm very interested in studying the history, the Russian history, the Ukrainian history. So I kind of apply my knowledge, and I asked Michael, "What do you think?" I test him. So let me say one thing about Michael too. You asked. So the Mordinson experience for me has been better than expected.
Thank you.
Michael is a true professional from the beginning of this process. Now, I considered him a friend early on. Michael has a technique about him that he wants to help you, but he's not going to do it for you. Michael's going to push you gently. He's going to want you to learn and test the water, which I appreciate. Now, obviously, my second trip back here, we're in very, very non-standard conditions. Michael's been wonderful. There's no line with Michael being a business person or a friend. So I've made a friend for life here, really. And I can pick up my phone and Michael will help me no matter what.
I feel the same way, Stephen. And
very valuable. So.
Thank you so much. Stephen, a very important question that I wanted to ask you about Marina, of course. You said that you had rather intensive communication before you came. What sold you on Marina? How did she steal your heart?
Well, like I said, I had some very candid questions. I was asking some very candid questions of her early on the process that I think all men will ask. Are you willing to come to the USA? Because that's a big, I'm going to tell American men right now, that's a big misnomer out there that people think Ukrainian or Russian women are dying to get to the USA for citizenship. That's not true. That is not. There may be a few of them. These women are very selective. They want a man, they want a relationship, and that's part of the process. So I asked Marina a lot of those questions, and the way she answered them in depth, and some of our letters, she said, it seems to me like our letters are getting longer. And I said, yes, I like that. So when I come here and met Marina, she's a little different than me. We had very, very good conversation, but she says to me, she goes, it seems to me you ask a lot of questions. I do. And Michael will attest, I do ask a lot of questions. I'm very curious. I want to see everything. I want to know everything. So that was different for her. So we start to outline some of the differences as the relationship goes on. It's not a showstopper because I'm always asking her, is that okay? Is everything okay? But I give her the freedom to be herself and support her in that, and she's doing the same for me. So I can see that. It's a very pleasant experience.
It's when you talk about Marina, your eyes become full of light, and it's a very nice to see. I'm very happy to see you so happy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I appreciate it. Like I said, the ladies that I met and communicated with and met here were wonderful. These are very, very wonderful ladies. It was a difficult decision, but I kind of knew right away when I had the face-to-face contact with Marina and a couple dates here in the country, I knew that was it. I just knew. It just solidified what I believed. And I told myself not to get caught up in the letter writing. You could get caught up and it's very tough to fall in love, or it's easy to fall in love with letter writing, but I wanted every lady to have a fair chance. I wanted myself to have a fair chance, and it worked out the way I had hoped. Everything worked out good.
Stephen, I want to comment on something you said. It's important for a lady to have this, to be open to the idea of moving abroad, because otherwise, what is the point of this whole thing? All our clients are obviously from from abroad. Actually, majority are from North America. So when a lady comes to our office for an interview, this is one of the things that we make sure that we talk about, we ask her about it. She should be open to the idea of moving abroad in order to become a member of the agency. If she is not, or she is expecting a guy to move to Ukraine, she's not going to become a member of our agency, because in 20 years of our work, there is just one guy who did this, who moved to Kharkiv, and he was not from the United States, he was from South Africa. Heinrich, if you are watching this video, hey man, he actually lives a couple of blocks away from the place where we are.
No kidding.
And I made a little video with him. If you, I will put a link right here to the video that I made with Randy and Heinrich in summer last year. It was a really amazing, unplanned video. Randy was here visiting, and he's from the United States. And Randy met his wife in Mordinson agency, I think in 2010 or something, like a long time ago. And a few years after he met Sophia, his wife, I received this letter from the guy from South Africa. His name is Heinrich. And so we spoke a little bit. He started talking to some ladies, and at some point he said, Michael, is it possible that I speak to somebody who used your agency before, like speak to somebody who is your former client? And I said, sure. And so I gave him contacts of Randy so he can call him up, and he did. They spoke on Skype, and he also spoke to Randy's wife, because they were at home naturally, and so on. And then a few months later, Heinrich came here to Kharkiv and met his future wife, Julia, and there are wedding pictures on our website. And then last year, Randy was here, and we are just sitting in the cafe drinking coffee, and it just strikes me. I asked Randy, I tell him, do you remember Heinrich, the guy from South Africa? And he says, sure. And I tell him, do you know, he came here after talking with you a few months later. He came here and he met a girl and they got married, and now they live in Kharkiv. And he says, no way, wow, awesome. And so I just pick up my phone and I call Heinrich, and he is in Kharkiv. He was in Kharkiv. He travels quite a bit, but he was in Kharkiv at this moment. And we just met like half an hour later. And so Randy and Heinrich met for the first time, and we made a video about it. So check it out. It's really awesome. Heinrich is talking about his life a little bit in Kharkiv. He's a great guy. Stephen, so coming back to my point, absolute majority of our clients, 99.9%, are not going to move to Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And therefore it's crucial and critical for us to make sure that the ladies who we represent are open to this idea, and that's why we talk about it when a lady comes to our office. So it's as I said, if she's not open to the idea of moving abroad, what is the point of this whole thing? Mm-hmm. Stephen, I think we made a great video already, but I want you to put this cherry on top of the cake. What would be your advice to guys who are watching this video, who are thinking about using maybe our agency, or maybe just going to Ukraine and looking for a wife? What would you recommend, and what would you advise to those guys?
I would be very careful. Do your due diligence, and I would highly recommend Mordinson. I really could appreciate Mordinson because of where I had been. I had been bounced around, had some less than stellar experiences, but this man you can trust, and it's very, very important. I feel very comfortable in Kharkiv. Michael's my home base. I can go wherever I need to go, but he's really looking out for you. And it's very important because this arena in this country is set up to fleece a lot of American men of their time, their money, and their resources. So you have to be very careful. If nothing else, I would at least have a conversation with Michael. If you've been through this process, or even if you're just starting out. These are serious people here. The women are serious. So I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Thank you so much. Guys, I 100% agree with everything Steven said. Of course, it's very flattering to hear this from you, and I know it comes from the heart, and you also know that it comes from my heart when I say that I consider you to be my friend. And Steven is such a fun guy. And so Marina is a lucky woman. I really hope that the next video we will be making with Marina after your K1 visa is approved. Guys, we are being cautious with the coronavirus, so I'm not we stopped shaking hands. So you know how much I appreciate you, and thank you so much for coming. Guys, thank you for watching. And if you have any questions about Steven's experience or Mordinson services, you can email them to us or just write them in comments, and I will try to respond to the comments under this video. Guys, thank you so much. Good luck, and the fortune favors the bold.
Спасибо.
Пока. Bye-bye.